Welcome back to another Action GameMaker tutorial. Today we're going to talk about change object property. So with that said, let's get started. All right, so we can all remember in PGM that we had this change switch variable action. And what it would do is just change a switch or a variable. It could do common ones or self ones. And that was basically it. That was all we had access to. What if I told you that now, along with this still, we can now change any property in any of these tabs that we want? That's exactly what this new change object property does in Action GameMaker. All right, so now we're in Action GameMaker, and I'm going to show you exactly how to use this action. All right, so I'm going to click on the script here to take us to the visual scripting. And in the move action, what I want to have happen is I want a little icon to appear above the player when he's moving. And then when he goes into idle, the icon disappears. So the first thing that we want to do is I'm going to add a sprite. And I'm going to call this the AGM icon, just because that's what we're going to be using. I'm going to move it up here so it doesn't get in the list. This will get really big, the list. And then what I'm going to do is in the inspector, you can see that we have a texture property. Okay. These are called, see, these are filter properties. So right here, you could filter the property if you wanted, but these are all called properties. So anything that you see right here is going to be, as you can guess, changeable with this new action. So in the move runtime here, or in the move box, we're going to add the new change object property. All right. So it's under switch and variable, but you can just type in change and it will pop it up right here. Now this still does the switches and the variables, as you could guess. These are the object flag and variables. Switches are called flags, if you weren't aware. But you can also do the project database, and so you could do project switches and project variables. So that's how you do those. But let's just say that you want to do a property, all right? So you can select what property, and note that you could do this on any object. You could select an object that's not in this scene right here as well, but I'm just going to use the self. So when you click on the self, you're going to get a list of all your target nodes. So these are all nodes. And so you're going to get a list of all of these nodes right here. So you're going to click on this and see all of them right here. See collision shape 2D, collision shape 2D, light occluder. And then we do not have the AGM icon because I don't think I've saved it. I think you have to save it in order for that property to be visible. So now let's go back to object property, self, and then there is our AGM icon. All right, so I'm going to click on that AGM icon, and then right here is where you click the property. Well, if you didn't remember what the property was, you can always click on that and see what the property is. I, however, remember that it is the texture property, and I'm going to click on it. Now, it's going to equal a new constant, okay? It might be a little interesting because you might think of that constant as a number, but this is just basically saying that it's a constant something, okay? And then we're going to give it a value. In this case, we can choose from a texture. So I like to quick load, in which case I can then search up something, and here is icon that I want to use, and it even previews it. So then I'm going to click add, and then in the idle, I'm going to add the same thing, except for this time, I'm going to click on the texture, and I'm going to say leave it empty. All right, so that's going to remove the texture. I'm going to click add. Then when we play test this, we will see that when I move, the icon will show, and when I am in idle, the icon will disappear. All right. And then if I wanted to, I could position it however I wanted. You can see that if I had it in here by default, I could position it however I wanted it. So icon, AGM, and then I could position it. Let's say I want it to appear right above me. And then I could just leave it because it's going to clear it out right when it starts, or you could clear it out again and that's where it would appear. So for example, if I play test this time, you can see that it shows above me. So that's how you would control where it positions. Now you can do this with anything. I'll give another example where right here, we will do a wait. And we'll wait 1 second. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a new change property of the same icon here. So for this time, we're going to do the scale. All right. So we're going to make it equal. We could also add to or something like that, but we're just going to make it equal. And then this is a constant value of the new scale. Now the scale has an X and a Y value. So I'm going to say I want the new X to be 1.5 and the Y, let's squish it and go 0.5. Oh, if you want to get rid of the matching, you just click on this right here. The link's broken now and you can actually do a new number. All right, or a different number. So this will change the scale to that. So we can add it right there. But then when I hide it, I want to make sure that I change the scale back. So I would need to go to property, go to self, go to the icon texture, and then go to the new scale, and then make sure that I'm putting it back to 1, 1. Now do note that we can actually use a database, or we could use another object property to scale it. So in this case, since my player is 1, 1 scale, I could say it can use my player's scale. So this scale will then go back to 1, 1. All right. So now I'm going to play this, and as I'm running, after 1 second, it will grow kind of weird like that. And if I let go, it will go back to normal when I start to move again. So now it's going to get even better. Now I want to, in my change property here, instead of doing a constant, I want to show you how to use a database, for example, and how to do it. So the first thing that we got to do is we got to go to database up here. And then when it loads up, I have no databases in here, but I'm just going to click this, run right here. I'm going to call it icons. And is it changeable? Yeah, it could be changeable and savable. We'll just say that. We're not going to do that, but we'll just do that. So here is our first icon. So this is row of, let's just say, icons above head. Let's just say that you have a bunch of different icons you could do, like say a HUD equipment icon. You could have your HUD equipment icons right there. And this one is going to just be simply icon 1. And instead of a numeric, I'm going to change it to an icon. And then, as you can guess, you're going to select the icon. Now this one doesn't have a search. I kind of hope it does in the future, but just you can look for your icon right here. And now we have this one says icons above head, and then it's icon 1. And then you could just add icon 2 if you wanted and go just like that. So I'm going to hit OK right here. And then I'm going to go to, instead of equaling it to a constant, I'm going to say it equals a project database, and we're going to go to the databases. We're going to use the icons database, and we're going to go do the icons above head, and then icon 1. And now if I playtest this, we can see that it loads up the icon just like we had it. And it does exactly what we did before. But we use the database to do this. Now, to kind of wrap this up, I just wanted to show you that we can now change our basic settings and move jump settings as well. Any kind of node that you can think of, we can change. So for example, I'll just show you a few. So the first one is we can go to scroll down here, go to base settings, and we can now change things like HP and max HP from here. Now we can do this via variable, so that isn't that good. We can also change the starting directions, things that we cannot change. For example, another one is the use critical settings. This one we used to be able to not control. We could just control whether it was 0 or 100%, and we can now turn it on or off. All right, another one that is going to be very well received is going to be the gravity. We can now change gravity where we could not before. We can change anything. We could change whether they're movable when jumping or falling. We could not change that before, now we can, and things like that. Now you can change any kind of property. So if I go to my attack setting right here, my attack area, and then here's my attack collision, I could go to my attack collision and I can go to disable, and I can say my attack collision is disabled. So now that will make that attack not happen. And we can also change things. For example, we could go to the attack, not collision, but let's go to the attack area 2D. We can now change the masks as well. So, but it's not that, it's the collision layer. So we can say what collision layer this is, or we can say what masks, what collision layer this hits, what it's looking for. And so we can change them right here. Now I've had a video on masks and collisions, but I didn't include this, I don't think, but this is one way that you can change your collisions and masks during runtime. Now, this is kind of interesting because you can now kind of see where we can start using this in item menus and in HUDs and in things like that. So if you have any questions, you can comment below. Steam Forums Discord will get you figured out. That said, I'll see you at the next video.